Welcome here into Teal The Show. We're getting ready for another away game for the Jaguars. It's Florida-Georgia week, so it's only tradition that the Jaguars have to go somewhere else for the weekend.
I'm kind of used to that. Every year we take off and get away, but it's a fun weekend in Jacksonville for sure.
All right, Jaguars getting ready for a big game against the Philadelphia Eagles, and Philly is definitely a tough place to play. We got to talk about some of the business the Jaguars have gone through this week, though. One guy that has been a mainstay here in Jacksonville for a long time, Cam Robinson, no longer with the team.
Cam Robinson's been a good Jaguar. He was the left tackle all the way back to 17 when they had the great run. He's been a really good football player. He's a tough-nosed guy, exceptionally good pass blocker, probably better pass blocker than run blocker. So he's been a good Jaguar. But I don't think he was bought in this year, Jamal. I think some of the things bothered him this year. He didn't start the game last week. He looked sort of disinterested. You got that feel just watching him at the game. And I thought maybe it was time. Sometimes with a player, even a good player, and even with a player that's been a good Jaguar, and he clearly has, sometimes it's time. And I think that's probably what happened with Cam Robinson. I think it's probably best for all. If he plays enough in Minnesota, the Jags then get a fourth-round draft pick out of it. It can become a fourth-rounder. So I think it was time to move on. I think it's best for both parties. I really do.
A fresh start for Cam Robinson with the Minnesota Vikings, where the Jaguars traded him. That also means an opportunity opens up for Walker Little here in Jacksonville, one that I'm sure Walker will not take lightly.
You know, feel great about him. Obviously, he's been here. He's worn a lot of hats for us. You know, he's played inside, he's played outside, he's played both tackle spots. You know, I think after the first little bit of the game, he's really settled in, did some nice things, and got a lot of confidence moving forward.
I will say Walker's done a great job. I'm excited for this opportunity for him. He's played great when he's had the opportunities the last few years. He's been put in some tough spots. He's had to play a lot of different positions. He's had to come in 22 when Cam got hurt. He had to come in and finish the season when we were on that run, and we didn't skip a beat because he was prepared, and he prepared every day like a starter. And so he's been ready for his opportunities, and that's not easy to do when you're not the full-time guy. And now that he's getting that opportunity, I'm excited for him.
Now, Walker has been here in Jacksonville for a little bit. He started the last game for the Jaguars. We've seen him do some spot-fill duty, but this is maybe the first time that he has the driver's seat for that left tackle job.
And it's a great opportunity for him. They've waited for it to be Walker's job. At least Walker's waited for it to be his job, and he played behind a good player in Cam Robinson. Well, now's your time. Now it is your time to be the guy, and I think he's got a chance to be a very good player there. They drafted him to one day be their left tackle, Jamal, and now Walker Little can be their left tackle. I think he's a good run. I think he's a better run blocker than Cam Robinson. I don't know that he's as good as pass protection, but he's a pretty good player, and now it's his spot for the long haul. Good for him.
Yeah, you know, timing is everything, and Walker Little's timing is perfect because he's a free agent this offseason. So if he plays well down the stretch, all of a sudden,
that's right.
Big payday for that guy. Now, Walker originally steps into that left tackle job because of injuries. The Jaguars have a ton of injuries, so they have a lot of guys that are going to be asked to step up. And Doug Pederson says, you know, you always hear coaches say the next man up mentality, but it really is just that simple.
Next man up. I mean, honestly, it's easy as that. You know, I mean, you know, the games are still going to come. The league's still going to, continue on, and we're going to continue on. And we got to coach. It's why we develop guys in the off season, you know, for opportunities like this, right? So whether it's a young player, a rookie, or a vet, I mean, or a practice squad elevation, you know, we're going to continue to coach everybody and get them prepared for each week.
Look, and it really is that simple, where they need the next man to step up. And last year, Parker Washington got a similar opportunity to what he's going to get this year. Christian Kirk, done for the year last year. Parker Washington steps in as a rookie. Christian Kirk, done for the year again this year. Parker Washington, second-year player, needs to step up again.
Well, and he's the guy that really does, Jamal, because you're not sure about the other spots. You're going to hear Gabe Davis and Brian Thomas Jr. We're not sure how soon they will play or won't play, but you know Christian's out, and Parker Washington is the next man up. I think Parker Washington's a pretty good player. He plays like Christian Kirk. He's built sort of like him. He's a little shorter. He's a broad-shouldered, stocky guy. He's a return guy. He's got great hands. He's very much like – he's not Christian Kirk. They're going to miss Christian Kirk immensely. But he plays in a similar style to Christian. Had one of the big plays of the year, that punt return. So I think the time is right for Parker Washington. I do. He steps up. As for the other spots, look, it's a lot of injuries, man. I think about this. They have had injuries to almost the entire offensive team at some point this year. Think about it. The 11 starters, that they were down 6 at the end of the game the other day. Evan Ingram has been out some. Brandon Sheriff came out and came back in. almost all 11 guys, maybe Anton Harrison's been okay, Trevor this year's been okay, but almost all 11 guys have been nicked this year, and you're only 8 games in, so there's been a lot of injuries, particularly on that offensive group.
You know, with an offense that hasn't exactly been lighting the scoreboard up week after week, injuries definitely can be something that can sidetrack you a little bit, but maybe just add some extra pressure to some of the guys that are still there. Talked to Trevor Lawrence this week. Trevor said that while the injuries are there and he understands the need for him to play a good game, he says that's no different than the expectation he puts on himself week after week.
No, I mean, I need to play well. It's the same thing every week, though. You know, I'm not putting any more pressure on myself. I got to play well. I got to play well every week to give us a chance to win. That's just playing quarterback in this league. You know, it's not unique to our team or the situation. It's just how it is. So, yeah, I'm just going to, like I said, have a great week of prep, make sure I'm ready to go on Sunday and work through all those things like we talked about, like whether all the guys are, obviously Christian's not going to be out there, but all the other guys that are, you know, a little banged up, if they're good to go, great. We're prepared for that. That's not much change. But if that's not the case, how do we work out all the other stuff and making sure that I talk through with all those guys that could possibly play and make sure that we're all dialed in and ready to go. And that's my responsibility and the coach's responsibility, and we'll make sure that we're ready and then just go play. You know, trust those guys to go win. We got good players. Obviously, when you're missing guys, it sucks and you want your guys out there, but we got players that are ready that are more than capable of doing their job.
And you know, Frank, we always talk about it. If this team's going to win a game, it comes down to the play of Trevor Lawrence. That's whether they're healthy, hurt, Parker Washington's out there, Christian Kirk's out there. They need Trevor to play good football.
I think Trevor was pretty good last week, other than the 2 big mistakes. And look, those were big mistakes. You can't fumble it inside your 5. You can't switch hands. He knows that. And the throw, I think there was a mix-up on the routes. Christian Kirk and Brian Thomas were close together, which you don't usually see. So I think that was part of that as well. But I think by and large, Trevor was pretty good last week. The drive at the end of the game, with most of his players out, and the touchdown to Evan Ingram is one of the most beautiful things you'll ever see. Trevor's playing at a good level. They all got to get on the same page. That whole football, complementary football they talk about, that's what has to happen. When the offense plays well, the defense has to help them out.
All right, we'll talk a little bit more about the matchup with the Eagles coming up next when Teal The Show returns. All right, welcome back here into Teal The Show. We got to talk a little bit about the Philadelphia Eagles. The Jaguars are getting ready to go up to Philly. The Link is always a tough place to play. Maybe a little bit specifically for Doug Pederson. There is a statue on one side of the stadium that he's never visited, by the way, which I just think is astounding that they built a statue of him outside the stadium, and he's never gone to see it.
I thought one of the funniest parts of his pressers this week was, I think Mark Long from the AP asked him, hey, you going to go see the statue? He said, no. He said, why not? Why don't you walk over there? And he goes, what, go tailgate too and hang out with everybody? But he was good-natured about it. But that was a special time for Doug. He will tell you that. He won a championship. Championships in the National Football League are hard. That was a big deal for him. That was the crowning achievement of his career to date, and it means a lot to him. But you can't get caught up in that now, and he won't. This is a chance to go win a football game. The Jags got to get a win, man. The Jags are 2-6. They were 2-6 a few years ago and rallied, but the rally has to start now. It's a really good team. Philadelphia's a physical team, Jamal. They hit you, so the Jags have to match their physicality. Big game on Sunday.
All right, what do the Jaguars need to do to pull off a win, Frank? You know, last week we saw them go against a mobile quarterback, Malik Willis, when he came in relief of Jordan Love, a guy who can run around a little bit. Jalen Hurts is maybe a souped-up version of that, a guy who can run around, make plays with his legs, but also maybe a little bit of a better passer.
I think, and this is cliche, it's going to sound like coach speak, but they've got to be better in the trenches. They've got to win the physical part of the game. They've lost some of their dynamic playmakers. We know that. Christian Kirk for sure. They've got to be physical. They've got to win. Philadelphia is a physical team. They will hit you in the mouth. You know what they're going to do on 4th and 1 or 3rd and 1. There's not a lot of mystery with this team. They're physical. They hit you. Again, I think the fact that Walker Little's playing on your offensive line makes you more physical on the offensive front. They've got to be physical on the defensive front. They've had to rotate those tackles, the defensive tackles in and out of there, Jamal. They've got to match the physicality. Make Philadelphia a one-dimensional team. They want to run it, man. That's who they are. Make them a one-dimensional team. Make Jalen Hurts throw on your schedule. They never could quite get there with Malik Willis a week ago. Can you make Jalen Hurts throw the football? When Josh Jacobs got the running game going for Green Bay last week, that made it way easier for Malik Willis. Don't let that happen this week at Philadelphia.
You know, Frank, rotate's kind of turned into a trigger word for me with the Jaguars defense because those rotations are almost infuriating at this point. There's these hockey shifts where you say Ventrell Miller's playing lights out football and then you look up and he's off the field. Or you look up and Josh Hines, Allen, and Trayvon Walker are watching from the sideline on a key down. These rotations, infuriating.
Well, and I will tell you, it's a results business, Jamal. They're 29th in the league in defense. If you're 3rd or 4th in the league in defense, then your rotations are working. Whatever you do, if you do something kind of out of the ordinary, that's what this is. You do something kind of out of the ordinary, and you're ranked low in defense and not good on defense, that's what stands out. I agree with you. I think they play a lot of players on defense, and I wonder sometimes. I think right now, they're at, in my opinion, now if Devin Lloyd played better last week, but I think they're at their best when Foye Oluokun and Ventrell Miller are the linebackers. I think you get into a rhythm a little bit. Part of that, too, is guys have been out. It was hard to play Foye the whole game when he had been out for so long. It was hard to play Tyson Campbell 65 plays when he hadn't played in a month and a half. So part of it is just that, but they've got to get the tackle rotation figured out. They've got to figure out the interior of that line, that's for sure.
All right, Frank, we reached that point in the show. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think they can pull off the upset in Philly?
It'd be hard to pick them now. It'd be hard. Philadelphia's playing at a real good level. Philadelphia's at home. I think the Jags have lost some confidence. I hope I'm wrong about this, but I think this is a tough one for them in Philadelphia.
All right, we'll see what happens. Hopefully Frank's wrong, but sadly I see things pretty similar to the way he does, so we'll see what happens on Sunday against the Eagles. Frank, thanks for being here tonight. Thank you at home for tuning in. Good night, everybody, and go Jags.